Hello, everyone. It's Reverend Deanna Cox here, and welcome to the first Sunday of May, which is actually the third Sunday in the season of Easter. And this Sunday in our physical communities is a really big Sunday. In the community of Roseland, we're celebrating a baptism, and in the communities of Daysland and Killam of Roseland are coming together for one worship service where we're going to celebrate the gift of ministry of our administrative assistant who has been with us for 5 whole years. And we are also welcoming the newest member of their family, their daughter, to God's family and to our family of DKR United. So they are big days, and they're both happening in the one day, so they are a big day. And it has been almost like 2 marathon weeks coming up to this big day for me personally. And you kind of in ministry, sometimes maybe others don't, but I've kind of told myself that just keep going and just get through Easter Sunday and things will slow down and you'll have a chance to catch your breath. And they did. I was able to get my desk cleaned off, which is quite a feat in itself. But these last 2 weeks haven't been the calm that I have imagined. My own personal life has been really full and busy, which then in turn makes my work life full and busy. And I was thinking about that as I just put the finishing touches on the services and came to my office here to pack up to get ready. And I was thinking about, one more thing I have to do. I have to record something for Sunday. And then it struck me about all that I was writing about. This Sunday in the joint worship service, we're going to hear the passage from the Gospel of Luke about Jesus appearing to the disciples on the road to Emmaus. And we're going to hear the passage from Matthew that reminds us to be the salt of the earth and the light of the world. And at the baptism, we hear stories about how we are welcomed to God's family, that God knows us by our name and that we are welcomed together as family, regardless of who we are. And so as I have been working with those texts all week and even beyond, as I was preparing up to these days, and I'm feeling that my own personal kind of exhaustion from just running all the time. It reminded me actually of the story of the disciples on the road to Emmaus. They had just witnessed or heard of Jesus' crucifixion, and then what would be like almost moments later that he had risen from the dead. And then chaos ensued. The political climate was such that being a follower of Jesus in that time was very dangerous. The authorities were looking for other people to hold accountable for the changes that were rumbling in people. And so a lot of the people that had started to follow Jesus went into hiding, and some tried to return to their normal lives, to go back fishing. And this story that we are going to share on Sunday from the Gospel of Luke is about disciples that are on the road to Emmaus. And they were so wrapped up in their discussion with each other that when the stranger joined them, even though there was something naggingly familiar about him, it was just kind of, you kind of thing that when you see somebody that looks like somebody, you kind of do a double take. So it was kind of that nagging feeling like that. And even though they had that, they still couldn't recognize that it was Jesus walking with them. And so as I think about that story and how my last couple of weeks have been going, and the words that I actually was writing to share with you on Sunday, which were sometimes we have to slow down and create space to recognize the holy that is traveling unrecognizable with us in everything we do. And so I thought, this is what I have to say, is that here in the midst of this chaos and busyness, in the midst of this exhaustion and distraction, in that midst, in that very center, is the Holy One walking with us. And we just have to make time, make space to allow that awareness to bubble up. And if we don't, then we start to not recognize that holiness, that sacredness within us. The passage from Matthew about reminding us that we are called to be the salt of the earth and the light of the world. And that we share our gifts that with the world, are also kind of stressing in these passages that we hear about Jesus appearing to the disciples after his resurrection. They have three things in common. One, they often don't recognize Jesus at first. Two, there's some kind of a trigger, like the sound of his voice or a word he says or a ritual that he does that helps them realize who he is. And third is a call to, once we recognize the holy, to go out and share God, the good news of God with the world. And so this is the salt and the light, that we have been blessed with many God-given gifts, and gifts that are like salt, so they season the world. Salt is also for preserving, so people that advocate for upholding traditions or like different things like that. And salt is also a requirement for life. Then we think of light. Light disrupts darkness and guides our path. Light is, and too much light, we can get sunburnt. That's something I know quite well. And light is also very necessary for life. So we have these things that we are called to be: salt and light, and the reminder that we need to recognize those gifts in ourselves and in others, to recognize the holy, to know that we are all part of God's big and wondrous, glorious, diverse, and technicolor family, and that if we each share our gifts with joy and with grace, and if we make time to acknowledge those gifts in others, that's when God's kingdom will come together. That's when we truly are the church that God had desired for the world. And so, it just caught me how, here I am writing about the disciples being so wrapped up in their lives that they couldn't even recognize God. And the irony is that I couldn't even see it happening in my life in the here and now. And so like I said, this Sunday we are celebrating baptism and welcoming new people into God's family, into our family of DKR United. And we are pausing to acknowledge the gifts, in particular of our office administrator, but a reminder to each of us to pause and acknowledge the gifts that we have, this God-given saltiness and light, technicolor light that we can bring to our own lives and to the world. And so I encourage you to think about that, to maybe, if you're not with us in person, to set aside some time today to go out or to go within and acknowledge the holy in your midst. I am going to put the link to a video for the children's story that I am going to share at the joint worship service. It is a wonderful little story about a little girl who is trying to create the most magnificent thing, and how she can't recognize what she is the goodness in what she is creating. She can only see the mistakes. So I'm going to put that link to that video in the description below. I invite you to check that out if you want. I will also put maybe another link to one of the songs that we are going to sing on Sunday. I am just so excited, even through my exhaustion of preparing them. I'm so excited about these kind of intergenerational services that we are going to have, and really looking forward to them. So I'm going to try and share some of the bits with you in the description below. So, friends, we are all God's family. And so may we set aside time to recognize the holy in us and in others. And may we lift them up and celebrate them with grateful hearts. For we are God's people, and thanks be to God for that. Well, may God bless you and keep you until we see each other again. Take care. Bye.